We're good.
Call this evening's meeting to order. Take the pledge, please. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I don't know why that came.
Thank you. If you please call the roll.
Mr. Redmond, Mr. Weisgerber,
Here.
Mr. Bateman,
Here.
Mr. Parker,
Here.
Ms. Zook,
We have a motion to excuse Ms. Zook.
I'll move to excuse Ms. Zook. I'll second.
Please call the roll.
Mr. Parker,
Yes.
Mr. Bateman,
Yes.
Mr. Weisgerber.
Yes. We just note when Mr. Redmond shows up.
Okay.
If he doesn't show up, then we'll
Make a motion.
deal with it from then.
3-0 motion carries.
So I'm assuming he's going to be here.
Okay, that's fine.
All right, there's no one signed up for open forum. Old business review of the proposed zoning code changes.
Yeah, so last meeting, during our regular meeting, we got through to chapter 1125, which got us through pretty much all the definitions, through some of the enforcement, some of the kind of the groundwork for the code. And then moving forward, how I'd like to handle today is, as you know, we have a regular scheduled meeting for April 7th. At that meeting, McBride Dale will be here, our consultant, to discuss infill, short-term rentals, and also one other thing that I've added that I want to have discussion on is having better clarification and better definition for modular and mobile homes. We've done what our code has said up to this point. But I do believe there's some room for improvement there, and they're going to bring us kind of their expertise from other communities. I actually spoke to them today, and they've got a good handle on what we're looking for. They're going to present that. So with that said, what I'd like to accomplish today with the board is to essentially go through from page 70 on, because that's where we left off last time, and kind of do similar to last meeting, where I'll tell you where I have my next comments that I'd like to discuss, and then if there's anything in between, we'll go over it like that, if that's okay with the board.
It's fine. I think when we get done this evening, I don't know if anybody has a hard stop or when we're going to plan on stopping. There were a couple things. I sent you an email that
Regarding infill?
Just regarding infill, I just wanted to get the whole board kind of on the same page so that when we get back together, one of the things that I sent to Chris was kind of what is the definition of the problem we're trying to solve with infill. And, when we think about people using the SPD process to do infill, my interpretation of what we're trying to solve is come up with the definition and code around infill so that we're not using the SPD, which opens every door and every window in the code for infill. Now, does that mean like some of those codes that you sent to us had overlay districts? Do you do that for residential? Do you use the SPD and overlay that on top of business corridors or is there a density or acreage? Some other conversation around how that goes. So I'm looking forward to what the consultants bring.
Yeah, to kind of give you a little preview on that, because we might as well talk about it now. To give you a little preview on that, the conversations I've had so far with them is similar to Mr. Weisgerber, what you have suggested. They've seen where SPDs are limited to greater than a certain acreage, which if you're looking at kind of what we're looking to accomplish with infill, I think a decent example is what we saw recently with Highland in Maine. Now, granted, that's had a bit of a story to it, with the city owning it and wanting to develop it and different things. However, what you see there is a smaller footprint, smaller acreage that would, if we had had some sort of infill overlay, throughout that area, that may not have been an option for an SPD. You may have had that become single family homes, right? That are similar in mass, similar in. So I think that's kind of honestly probably the best example of what. And now again, I think what's happening there is going to be good. So don't get me wrong on that, but I do think that's kind of one you would look at.
Mhm.
So
And that's why I think it's just good for. I'm not set on one or the other. I think it's good for the conversation that above a certain acreage, whatever it is, maybe there's exceptions to that with proper application. I don't know.
right.
And then the same thing with infill, the whole discussion around the Nisbet zone. Really, when you think about averages, and a lot of these codes talk infill, similar surrounding buildings, setbacks, etc., that Nisbet district really would have fall, in my opinion, kind of what we ended up with, would fall in the definition of infill the way others have handled it. As opposed, it still would have required a unique zone. So, we've got examples, I think, that we can kick around. So we can save that for the 7th.
I agree.
The only other thing with rentals is I kind of did a snapshot look of different neighborhoods like Ohio and Park and say how many homes are in a square area, what kind of density for rentals feels about right, or if I take from 3rd to 5th up East Loveland Avenue, what's it feel right for rentals? Is it 15%? Where you'd end up with in Park and Ohio, that's between those, it's like 6 units, but on those 2 streets, both sides. Is that too many? Is that about right? I don't know. So just so the board knows, it's kind of what I'm thinking about is there a percentage in residential areas that has the right kind of feel? There's some of these codes that will say you can do X, Y, and Z within a 20 home stretch, or 70, it's not feet, but it's so many lots. That's the kind of thought process I've been having, just for your benefit, the board.
That's a similar conversation we've had with the consultant. They're actually going to bring a couple examples of communities that they've done exactly that, and they've done it, on the example he did give me was based on the zoning district, but we may want to go down to more of a micro level, and that's okay. So I think
that's just. I just wanted to put it on the table, let the board know kind of some of the thoughts that I've been looking at, and then cover it. Unless Dave or Andy, you have other thoughts or comments.
Yeah, well, I guess I don't want to set the table. What problem or what issue are we trying to solve? That's
with short-term rentals.
No, with the short-term rentals, I understand.
Yeah. Okay. I'm sorry.
The infill. Is it vacant lots, small lots, or is it trying to fit something on a small non-usable lot, or is it somebody goes and wants to buy 4 or 5 houses and we want to put something in there? I know you
I just think that the 4 units above the Dairy Whip gave the city the most visible. So this is what true infill is all about. It's not only a zoning thing. Chris and I talk all the time about. It's also how do you put certain design standards that are really outside of the realm of zoning.
Correct.
Are you gonna have design guidelines that kick in? It's a tough thing. I personally think those units are wonderful. I don't know that you could have crafted them better. I think you don't, Dave?
No, I think they're great. Just get them done.
Sorry.
Just get them done. I'm
sorry. I just think that I think it's like building a car and they have to put the hubcaps on, and at the end, that's what Chris and I kept saying. You wait till they're done, and all those little things start going on, and then I think it looked really well, and that raised some ires of what should we do to control it. Well, we did sort of control it. It was originally going to be 8 or 6, and there were things that were done, but I don't know that zoning really should get into how they look.
So to answer your question, my look at it was, I guess my concern is that we have no means of handling these kind of infills, with, especially if you're going to combine certain lots,
Sure.
without using the SPD process
Right.
today, right? Because otherwise, I don't feel like we have a very good control over even today's point design standards. Are you like a given neighborhood because our code has changed over the years?
Right.
Right. I guess my perspective is I don't want to use the SPD that opens the whole code up for infill for smaller lots. They should apply based on what the neighborhood is my first look at it.
Okay.
I'm open to more
Well,
discussion.
I just I agree with Dave. We don't need to get into telling people your house has to look like this.
No.
Has to be built like this. We sure don't want to do that.
Design police.
Right. So I think the more it's almost it's almost an SPD light. Here's the things in an infill, a list of things that we can address be it small lot, large lot, combining lots, those kind of things. But I just don't want a whole nother overlay layer of here's a stack of regulations that not only do you have to follow what's down here, you got to now follow all of these up here. So,
I appreciate that. Yep.
because just as an aside, and these were great reads.
Yeah.
You go from Twinsburg that says, "Hey, you can address the 8 items," to Oxford, which is 20 pages.
Right.
It's someplace. Oxford is very well written. I have a funny feeling the consultant may have wrote Oxford's.
I think they might have too. I'm not 100%. We'll find out. But
Yeah.
not 100%.
But it's something to think about is not having those exorbitant amount of rules, and Oxford almost created a whole nother separate code for an infill. I think we need to leverage what we've got, what we're working on, and just say, hey, this applies to these 8, 10, whatever. So it's someplace in the middle.
And I appreciate that. I would agree. I'm not one for volumes and volumes of text, because then you got too many places to check boxes or miss.
Right.
And then we're liable for whatever we did.
I think you have an opportunity to solve potentially a decent amount of the problems with a greater than number for SPDs, a greater than acreage. So I think that may help a lot of cases.
Okay. Now, things to think about before we get back together.
I would just like to say for the record that Mr. Redmond is here and Mr. Weisgerber is turning the gavel over to him to chair the meeting.
Done. I've been relieved.
Oh no, I'm going to pass it back to you. I just walked in. I don't know what's going on.
Okay.
We're going here.
Mr. Chair, do you care if I take over?
Sorry.
Do you care if I take over?
You go ahead, right ahead.
Perfect. So, like I said, we got to Chapter 1125 use regulations, and as you'll see going through this, we changed a lot of the look of what everything looks like, right? So, I think one of the biggest changes is you'll see the use tables are broken up into 2, into residential and commercial. Okay, so that was kind of the first thing we looked at doing, and then the other big thing is changing the conditional and even some of the principal uses to this conditional with standards or principal with standards. So those are basically what follows the tables. Each of them gives kind of these right here starts kind of like your use specific. So secondary family dwelling units, it goes through what that means, what you have to abide by, daycare centers, and so on. So that was kind of the biggest change in how that use table was kind of shown, not just to you, not to us, but to the public for consumption. Do you have any comments on kind of the usage? Based on definitions, things changed on how they're called out in the use table. I think one of the things that changed, and this was because I don't recall, I'd have to look back where it was originally, but You have to keep adult entertainment you have to allow it somewhere, right? So we moved it. I forget if it was in these.
Yes.
Well, it wasn't. We moved it to light industrial.
Yep.
I don't recall where it was before. So that was one that we moved. And it obviously has conditional standards along with it, which are lengthy, as you'll see through there. And then we had on 74, passed already, second family dwelling. This has always been a tough one for me. Here it is, secondary family. We really kind of tightened that definition up on what secondary family means. If you see, we even go to the extent of how much the secondary family unit can take up on the property, footprint on the property compared to the principal dwelling. We didn't have that before. Just a lot more clarity, which hopefully will help us, because we have had some come to us for these conditional use like this. But once again, you still have number 3 here, which, that's a tough one. You just assume it's going to be followed, right? There's nothing else we can really do there. You still see these in all codes, the secondary family dwelling site. We didn't really want to pull this out. But are there any kind of questions or comments? I guess I would say up until almost page 81 is where my next.
Under E, we have accessory structures. We list a whole bunch of types of accessory under 1.
Mm-hmm.
Do we want dumpster enclosures to be an accessory structure?
So this is in agricultural and residential zoning districts. So if we go to, we should have it in commercial. Okay. So I think you add accessory structures.
Because fences aren't accessory structures. So in a fence enclosure.
Right, and they're in the table,
Right.
as an accessory structure. But I would agree, fences, walls, and hedges are considered accessory structures, but dumpster enclosures are not. They're above there, but they're permitted with standards.
So would that apply to residentials that have HOAs that require your garbage cans to be shielded from the street? People build fence.
We do not want to get in.
I don't know. I just know that if we are requiring them to have a dumpster enclosure, should it be an accessory structure?
I don't
By
think so.
logic, no, right?
I would say no.
I would say no.
Yeah,
If it's
it's a glorified fence, is what it is. It may be a solid wall, but it's still
Privacy fence.
a privacy fence. Yeah.
so I would say you don't include it as an accessory structure because it's being required.
I would agree.
Already commercial. So
I just had a related thought when I talked about HOAs requiring shielding for garbage cans. Is there anything in here where HOAs, I guess they can only be more stringent?
They can't do anything to violate. So
They can't do anything to violate zoning, right?
right.
So
Right, but we don't.
no, I'm not saying we add anything. I'm just making sure that from a hierarchy of authority, they don't have.
No, but I've
I think
seen
we
in
should
my
just ignore
experience.
HOAs exist.
I've seen an HOA trump
Right. And make it more stringent, like you were saying.
Loveland or the residents, right? Trump us. They made them. That's why. Probably in my second week, I started asking people, "Have you talked to your HOA?"
Mhm.
Because we'll issue a permit for a fence, and it's legal.
Yeah.
With an HOA, I've seen multiple times they've had to tear out
Okay.
concrete for a shed or, yeah.
Yeah, that's I just making sure that there's a clear hierarchy. That I don't know if there's anything that we put into zoning code that just legally we have to define it or do anything. Okay.
I wouldn't say so because anybody within the city limits has to abide by the zoning code. So I don't think. Yeah,
Okay.
I mean,
That's fine.
I wouldn't think so.
That's fine.
I just had a quick question about the secondary family dwelling units. How would those work with our current or potential short-term rental permitting process? If somebody had a secondary family dwelling for a mother-in-law, for example, that goes down to Florida in the wintertime, would they have to go through a permit? Would they be able to rent that secondary family dwelling out for short-term rental?
Secondary family is a conditional use. They would have to come in for a conditional use for a short-term rental. Can you have two conditional uses? I don't
But
think
would
so.
that be a non-conforming?
Yeah, I was just curious. I mean,
because if you say it's for the family only, then it would be non-conforming.
Correct. Then you're basically, I think if you came in, the way I would suggest handling it is if you come in for a conditional, let's say you've already been granted a conditional use for a secondary family dwelling because they're conditional, and you come in for anytime you come in for a different conditional use, you're essentially relinquishing your first conditional use. So, I mean, I think you could, but you would have to basically say we're not using it as a secondary family dwelling unit anymore,
But then
which then becomes
then it's
non-conforming.
non-compliant.
Correct.
Non-compliant.
So I guess
they wouldn't be able
wouldn't
to.
be able to.
Right.
I think that's similar to what happened on Wall Street,
Yeah,
On the
right.
corner?
That's what made me think about it.
two family.
Yeah.
And then when that use left,
Mhm.
it's legally non-conforming, therefore it has to conform. Because then we'll know, hey, that's not
It's just something to
that's
consider.
not your Uncle
because
Jed that lived there before.
the reason I think about it is that that's not an uncommon circumstance that somebody might
Right.
want to do that. That,
Right.
for example, they might have the secondary dwelling, and then the occupant passes, and now they have a secondary dwelling that nobody's using. So just something to think about when we look at short-term rentals. Are there exceptions in instances like that where the family's got kind of a unused secondary family dwelling? How do they make the best use out of it besides turning it into some kind of man cave or she shed or you know what I mean, some getaway staycation rental? I don't know, but anyway,
That's true.
food for thought.
Beauty.
The other thing we did in the residential is, and it was kind of just cleaning it up, but we did a lot of cleanup on swimming pools and how they're defined and how the setbacks on them. We actually changed kind of the definition of that and how that's interpreted. That's on page 81. Let's see. So this is kind of how we adjusted it. The biggest difference is the in-ground swimming pools. We actually adjusted this setback from 15 feet to 10 feet so that we can have a conversation about that. But that, to let you know, that has been changed. And that was based on discussions we've had. Well, discussions I have actually with Eva and the amount of permits and the amount of historically the amount of variances we've gotten for swimming pools.
I don't see a problem with that.
I don't need.
I just wanted to bring it to your
Yep.
attention that this was a change.
Just for the record, it was always 6 feet.
Oh, I'm sorry. It was closer.
It was 6 feet for
Oh,
any
wow.
accessory structure. And so then when West Loveland built the Garage Mahal in Pheasant Hills that backed up to West Loveland, and all you saw was this big warehouse building. Then accessory structures over 200 went to 15 feet to any lot line, complementary facade with the principal structure, etc., etc. And pools were kind of like, they're underground most of the time, and the pool was like this. It didn't fit over here, and it didn't fit over here, so let's just call it an accessory structure. Well, the problem with that, you've got all these houses up here that are all legally non-conforming, right? Because when they changed the code in 95 and everybody went to RMD or RLD,
Right.
regardless of what their minimum lot size was and setbacks, then they're constantly coming in for variances. So it made no sense. Because nobody wants, I mean, some people just want to, like, have their pool to the left or the right. But no, it's right in the middle of the yard.
So if I'm reading this correct, then Chris,
Mm-hmm.
the above ground pool has to be 15 foot from any property line
Correct.
and 6 foot from any fence. I'm a little lost at that.
So
You're right.
I mean, basically what we're saying is there has to be, you can't have it, I mean, it would be 15 foot anyway, so I guess that's,
Well, if you had a fence interior to your lot,
Which why would we care about that? We shouldn't care about that.
having a fence close to the pool.
As long as it meets the safety standards with a 4.
Well, that's the only question: is somebody going to be jumping off the fence? But that's
It's between them and their insurance company.
yeah, that's what I'm thinking too. I don't.
Hey, you're correct. I mean, it really doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter
The fence doesn't
if
matter.
there's a fence or not.
Right.
I think Dave's point's good.
Yeah, I
take that
got
out.
you.
Well, but if you were to climb the fence and you would fall into the wall and possibly into
But
the
if you
water.
leave it at 15 feet, you're not going to do that anymore.
Again, that's between them and their insurance company.
Now, granted, the pools have to be fenced in.
Yeah.
So they're still going to have a fence to jump off into the pool.
Yeah,
Unless it's wrought iron.
If it's an interior fence to fence the pool from the remaining part of the yard, isn't that, to Dave's point, up to them and their insurance, not
I don't want
us?
I don't want to tell them where to put their
Fence.
fence.
Well, that'll be building code will tell them at that
The
point.
building code says you have to have the 4 foot higher fence around a pool. And
Right.
it can be
Right. But not in here. Yeah, I get that. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll
Seems
remove it.
redundant.
I agree.
and I'm going to ask a really dumb question. Is there a reason why that it's 15 for above ground and 10 for in ground?
It was really because of this was a me thing because I just think they're different. I think
Okay.
having them farther off the property line than above ground.
Okay.
Off.
That's reasonable.
But I'm open to whatever.
No,
I just think there's a difference between above ground and in ground as far as general look.
Yes.
I wouldn't want it closer. I wouldn't want it 10 feet away from my, it was more me just thinking generally. So,
Okay.
but I can go either way on that.
No, I would.
Yeah, I see your point. The fence, it's kind of like from any fence. The fence is really the requirement of the pool, around the pool. But the other part is like any fence could be,
Yeah, the fence thing doesn't make sense.
Not-
I agree.
you
We'll
didn't say
remove
from
it.
the fence required to be around the pool.
Because on 3 we kind of cover that 48-inch high fence, which really is the zoning, or which is the building code.
Right.
Correct.
Portion of that.
We'll remove that. That's good. I don't have anything else until we get to the commercial. So right now, all this that we've so like I said, it's broken up into essentially two sets. You got your agricultural / residential, and then we'll move on to the commercial, which would be the next set. So this is different how it's written than what we have now.
So under 3 for the pool, as we talked about, there's a building code. There's, other than zoning, why even have 3 other than to say it shall be fenced according to the building code?
I don't know building code, so I'm assuming this is building code. Is that true? I don't know.
I'm not sure.
I'm not-
We had that discussion. Is there a building code that specifies the pool is fenced?
Yeah.
Yeah.
If it is, then why don't we just reference the building code here and not,
Yeah, because that would be better.
because then if it changes, we just follow the building code.
Because there's more to that too. It has to have self-closing,
Yeah.
self-latching gate
Yeah.
mechanism. If
Yeah,
you just refer to,
I think wherever we can refer to an alternate document, it's better to not regurgitate it.
We'll adjust that.
Okay.
Okay.
So the one that I wanted to talk about, and we can talk about whatever you guys all have too, but I have close it at? Yeah. Okay. So here's the one that I wanted to have a little bit of discussion. These are underneath accessory uses. Which, okay. So commercial right now we're calling the dumpster enclosure an accessory use, and we just talked about that we should remove that as an accessory use.
Yeah, yeah. So you're on the chart for the non-residential.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because, like you said, dumpster enclosures are going to be, they're going to be required, so they're not an accessory use.
Right. And what happens is, if you've got a commercial building has a dumpster enclosure, a building, and they may have a storage building, which is reasonable.
Mhm.
Next thing you know, you've got 3 or 4 accessory structures, and it's all separate permits, and it's all separate. Let's just simplify it. It's not.
I agree. Yep. The other one to talk about, I just want to make sure we're all on the same page. It's principally with standards in BR, BC, and LI, and that's shipping containers. They're as an accessory structure, so it's not like it would be the primary structure, principal structure, but we do call them out as principally permitted with standards in, again, BR, BC, and LI. I just want to make sure everyone's okay with that.
Mhm.
So, for example, I'm just going to give you an example. Benton. This would be a permitted accessory with standards, and then you can look at the standards. The regulations on them are good, so I'm fine with the way that's worded. I just wanted to talk about that a little. Let's go.
So 87. We moved industrial, light industrial, or adult entertainment to light industrial.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah,
there
we
it
did
is.
that too.
Yeah, that was fine.
Yeah. So you guys are good with this. So shipping containers, blah blah blah. So can't be used for signage or advertisement. Maximum 1 shipping container permitted per property.
Where would the maintenance? I mean, there are steel boxes that rust.
Mm-hmm.
I'm assuming would be covered under our maintenance, the city's maintenance.
So that's where, and you'll see this later on, because this is a comment we've been getting, not necessarily this, but landscaping. Okay, so we talk about maintenance, and let's say, let's say brand new Kroger builds that we require certain landscaping plan. One thing that we haven't done, and we're making it a little more robust in this, I added recently, is the ability for the city to come in and say, you have to replace this dead plant material, dead wood. So what I'm trying to get at is, I don't know that this gives us any ability. I mean, I don't know what it says about maintenance in here. To be
I
honest.
just don't want them to be nice and pretty for the first 2 years, and next thing you know, they're a rusted.
I mean,
look like they've been out on the sea for.
this would, in my opinion, this would cover us, because rust is not a paint.
Right.
So
Yeah,
I think that would cover it.
Tina.
So I think we have
Yes,
teeth.
it is. Okay, it's again simple. What you have there, those 4 items are
Right.
perfect, but the maintaining them is the one.
I got you. Anything else on commercial? A lot of it has stayed the same. We haven't seen, a ton of issues with commercial. My next thing was, where am I? Page number 132.
Hang on a second.
I know. Got too far. This is what I wanted to talk about.
So on your dumpsters on 95, old page 95. I'm sorry, I did not read.
Now, this should be the ones, hopefully, or close to it.
Yeah, it should be close. Right, the page right before shipping containers.
Oh, page right before.
Yep.
Okay. Outdoor storage of dumpster enclosures.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're going to be removing that.
Okay.
Because that's underneath here, this is accessory uses.
Okay.
So that'll be removed.
Just as a guidelines, do we define when we call out that they have to have a enclosure? Do we define where it has to be located?
We do not. I don't believe it's.
And I don't want to. I just want to make sure that we don't.
Well, it
Because
because
along
it's of sites.
Right. It's very difficult. Could be very difficult. And I don't. And again, not that we're wanting to make it easy, but it's being reasonable.
Mhm.
Okay.
Mhm.
All right.
Yeah.
That was the only thing.
This is the document, the Word document. And then we get into, unless we got more on that. Does anybody have any comments till chapter 1127? So we did a better job, in my opinion. We did a better job with these tables, cleaning up some of the building height stuff. We didn't change. We kept a lot of this stuff the same. We didn't change much of any of this. What I wanted to talk about is RMF. So we don't have a ton of vacant land in our current RMF, but there is a little bit here and there. And one thing we talked about was, I don't know if it's called out here. Yeah. So the way we currently do RMF is, let's say for 2-bedroom units, you have to have 5,000 square feet of lot area. So if you back that out to 43,560, which is an acre, you're a little north of 8 units per acre. And that seems, from a staff point of view, low. We did an inventory of all the current RMF densities, so the existing apartment buildings that are out there. And what we essentially see is an average of 14 units per acre in the current RMF. How we got there, I don't know. But that's what we're at with the current RMF. I think the suggestion we received from our consultant was to eliminate this whole 2-bedroom, 3-bedroom. It doesn't make a lot of sense to have that much in there. It simply should be units per acre. Have something that centers around units per acre. And I think we've talked internally, And we just feel somewhere in the 10 to 12 range makes more sense for RMF. That's what we obviously see north of that currently. Like I said, it's 14 units per acre. But I think cleaning it up and calling out a simple for the RMF units per acre would be much easier, I think, for everyone involved. We're open to whatever number you're looking at. But I just kind of want to get away from the 5,000, 10,000 for 2 and 3. It doesn't matter how many bedrooms it is. You're not adding that many more people with an additional bedroom.
I would be fine with either 10 or 12.
And keep in mind, you can always come for variances, which I assume that's how some of these other ones got to 14s. And actually, some are, we got some Broadway apartments are at 22 units per acre.
But you got to admit, there hasn't been a multifamily development built in the 12 years I've been with the city that didn't have a variance or an SPD. So that pretty much tells you right now, you're not at that sweet spot. I think, Chris, we've been talking about that forever.
Not in my career.
Ever.
Been one.
And that's a long time.
And you have a zoning for it, but no one can actually build in it. Mm-hmm. So it's a long career.
So I think what I'd propose is that I work with the consultant on how to word this exactly and how to get it in this table. But
so quick question: if you said 14 units per acre, which is or 10 or 12, but if you kind of take a step back and say I got a building footprint, and let's say the building footprint's 10,000 square feet or it's 15,000 square feet, right? There's X number of parking spots that are required. Unless they're going to do a parking garage or multi-story parking, which is expensive, you have a simple math problem, right? That the building has a square footage, parking requirement for X number of units is square footage, setback, right? Unless you're going 3 stories, does that make sense? Can you make those numbers? Does it make a package?
So RMF currently, and that's where I figured you were getting. RMF currently, we allow up to 40 feet. So that's potentially 4 stories.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I see what you're asking.
I'm just trying to be consistent.
Right.
And we have a parking setback requirement. And as soon as you said, it's kind of a simple curve if you think about how many square feet the building, how many units, up to 40 feet. What do you end up with as a maximum? And it seems to me like that should be consistent to a projected area. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does.
You look like I'm speaking Greek.
Yeah, but welcome to their world. But are you saying that might change due to the fact that there's parking requirements for each unit?
So if you said,
but he's saying max, though, right?
There's a maximum number of units for a given acre, right? When you do that, you may or may not be able to have that, or even you could get more, right? Yeah. If you said I can have 4 stories, but if I have 14 units, how many parking spaces are required for multifamily?
They're not even going to get the 14 once they look at unless they can meet it. They're going to look at the parking requirement.
Well, that's my point. So we're going to say you got a maximum, but if it doesn't hold together, right?
Yeah, look right here. You're right what you're saying. We can't just take this density and up it without looking at this maximum building footprint.
Right. It's got to
I agree.
Come together and spell mother, right?
Yep.
Both parking, footprint, units, height. It seems like there should be
There's a sweet spot.
There's a sweet spot that says the maximum can only be so many.
Correct.
So why would we not, instead of having the maximum building footprint, why would we not just say the minimum green space requirement is?
So you have setbacks. Is that different? You're thinking different
You
than
can count-
setbacks or
green spaces, setbacks. But your intent here is not to cover everything with impervious surface.
Correct.
because once you get to a certain building footprint, I don't really care what's inside of it, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
And
honestly,
you really do that with you have the maximum impervious surface area, which includes roofs, pavement, sidewalks.
Yeah.
So in reality, you can put 70%. I mean, yes.
oh, it's 70% green space. That's
Yeah,
what it means.
yeah.
So those numbers, and this has been an issue
That needs
that I
to
have.
change.
Absolutely, because I went back and I looked at so many approved plans and approved things. I don't, and again, it is what it is, but those have not been followed in most of our
Mhm.
plan approvals.
From a development
'Cause you can't
standpoint,
do
you can't do it.
Right.
You can't do it.
So let me go back. Let me do hypothetical plans and work through this and find that sweet spot. I hear what you're saying.
That number almost needs to be reversed.
I know.
It's flipped.
When I came here and saw that, I'm like, how do you do anything?
SPD is the
SPD,
answer.
and that's exactly the issue we've been having.
So in that chart, you kind of have the same maximum front yard setback.
Uh huh.
You went to all NA, which I agree with.
Yep.
Well, before, wait a minute. On this one, well, you changed it. It used to be on the one I marked up. It said you still had 45 feet.
Yeah, I changed.
You changed. Okay.
Sorry.
No, you're you're fine. I didn't print the word. Okay.
Yeah.
That was my only.
It doesn't make sense. Yeah, those need to be.
Mm-hmm. It just seems like we've over constrained it,
Mm-hmm.
right? We got too many columns that have numbers that don't come work
Correct. I agree.
together.
I agree. Let me go back to the drawing board on RMF and figure out how we can make this simpler and make it make sense. Because you're absolutely right. You just can't go to a new density and not have the rest of the numbers jive. So
Yeah,
I got you.
And so what's the goal then, right? If you said I'm going to be somewhere around 14 or whatever we do today, and I don't even know if that's right or wrong, but it's.
I
just
think
what we
that's
have.
high. I would
Right.
suggest going, if I had to suggest, I would suggest going to 12.
12. So with that in mind, based on height, what do the rest
Work
of it
yourself
look like,
backwards into
right?
that. Yep.
In today's point, and how do you define it that way?
Yeah.
I just feel like we got too many unknowns or too many equations here.
It's a lot of math.
Put it in Excel and hit solve.
AI help me.
He's an engineer, and he's saying that's a lot of math. So what's that tell me? Lord knows I'm not even going to
Put the equation in Excel and see if it comes up with it. If it was an answer.
on that same chart right there.
The residential one.
No, the next one down.
Sorry. This is our commercial and industrial districts. So
Do we need 35 feet there for a maximum?
This came out of the whole Loveland. Now I know we have an overlay district. I get that, but this comes out of the whole idea of keeping buildings, no matter where they're at, not even just Loveland Madeira overlay, but keeping them closer to the roadway.
Yeah,
that's where this idea comes out of. Because if you look at, I think that's what we were trying to do here without anyone outside the LMO, because LMO is different and it makes you come up close.
this is was a push to put the parking around back.
Correct. That's sort of what this does.
Yeah. Bring buildings up. So you
Correct.
drive through a sea of parking.
So that really brings it to, and this is, again, this is going to all dovetail into this infill discussion, but we cleaned up the SPD just kind of how it reads. It was extreme. The old code, in my opinion, was very confusing. So I think we've done a better job of describing the SPD and describing, what the intent of an SPD is. Now,
So,
I agree
Chris,
with you. There's some. Yeah, go ahead.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Back on the other chart, the maximum height.
Back to the commercial.
Yeah. In a business corridor, business, retail.
Mm-hmm.
So Loveland Madeira Road, 75 feet
Maximum height.
maximum height.
That's what we were.
What do we have?
What are we currently? Can you?
That seems high
Yeah.
compared to what we have on Loveland Madeira Road, even though there's an overlay
Does seem high.
in business retail. Light industrial, 50, I get it. Business corridor was partly to compete with the Sims Township side of the road. So unless that was competitive with what the township allows, the 75, I don't know.
No, I agree with you.
It's a 6-story building.
I don't think we
7-story
changed that, and that's what I'm
I
wondering.
don't think we changed it.
Yeah,
Right, but to your point,
it just caught my eye that it's like, ooh, that's
6-story building.
right.
It is 75.
it just seems
Business
excessive. But
corridor and business retail were always 75.
yeah, I'm just asking if it makes sense.
Right.
And probably because of the strip centers and they're pitch proof and
Yeah,
they
but
may have a
that's
first
6
floor, a
stories.
storage area, and then a
that's 6 stories.
That's
That's a
stories.
big
That's
building.
lot.
Yeah. I don't think we have any
I don't know.
Examples.
examples of
There
someone that's.
there was one that wanted to come in years ago, which was where up by Deer Ridge, some of the river edge
Mhm.
at the corner of, is that High Ridge or whatever that is there?
High
They wanted to put a, what was it, 4 or 5 story building there, right? And you come up Loveland Madeira from Kroger, it's going to look like a freaking monument, right? And so we really pushed back and said that's not what you should be doing. Under the code, I think they probably could have done it, Dave.
Yeah, I mean, River Ridge Apartments is the tallest in my 12 years that was built, and that's just
That's 4 stories.
That's a good point because Loveland Station is 59, and they had to get variances. So think how
Well, that's SPD.
That's just, well, that was
doesn't
one
matter.
SPD,
My
but it's
point is,
historic.
if that's 59 height,
Mhm.
think about what 75 is going to look
Yeah,
like.
no, that's why I'm bringing it up. It just seems
5-story building.
seems excessive. It seems like it should be whether 50 is appropriate or not. I'm putting judgment on it, but 75 seems too far. But
And again,
Nobody's done this.
I can imagine.
you can always, like, if something comes to you all, and it makes sense for it to be 65 feet, there is a variance process, right? So I think,
There's, yeah, I would rather ask for an exception,
right.
than say
So-
have them come in and say I'm doing a 70-foot building. Too bad.
And I would be wary of, fortunately it's in the commercial section, but if that were in the residential allowable height, we probably would have seen people applying to do a 6-story,
Sure.
apartment development or something like that.
2 years we spent on the LMO regulation.
So yeah, I don't like having something one way or the other that's able to just, without asking for a variance, go that tall.
So you agree with taking it down?
Taking it down, yeah.
Okay.
50 would be reasonable.
Yeah, we'll take it down to
Yeah.
50.
Thanks. Sorry for stepping on.
No, that's
sticky.
no. This is what we're doing. This is the easiest way to do it. It's just as you think of stuff, we just go back to where it needs to be.
And I, as a separate comment, I know we have a lot of definitions, but some of the codes that you sent us, and I forget if it was Springfield or somebody, I liked some of their graphics.
Their graphics.
Graphics that made it, the definitions very easy to understand. So if we add some graphics, I think helps. The definitions are there. Experienced people know what they are, but I thought it was really helpful.
Yeah, especially, and I would agree with that, because as we're making it more up to speed, I think we want to be wary of also ease of use, and making sure that you don't have to be a professional developer to understand how to navigate the code, but you can just be somebody looking to make a personal improvement to
And
your
they
property.
address, if you have staggered lots,
Yeah.
and other things that are in there, right?
Yep.
And how to help define what the setback or average setback should
Right.
be.
So they did a much better job of some of these things.
Mhm.
I like this section. Yeah.
Yeah. So this is a tremendous upgrade.
Go to the one that fronts on two streets. Keep going down.
It's not corner lot.
No, keep going. Keep going. Keep going.
Where you have 2 front yards.
Yes. Right there.
Oh, that one.
Building on 3 lots. Okay.
What would the definition of the rear setback? Would you apply the rear setback to that second street? That is,
Buildings on 3 lots shall conform to the front yard setback requirements for each street. So the front yard setbacks are required, and then accessory structures may be located at the rear as they do not extend the setback line of the rear street. So this is only for accessory structures. So I hear what you're saying.
I read that as the accessory structure and the building structure setback were the same.
Well,
The building setback, buildings on 3 lots shall conform to the front yard setback requirements for each street. So whatever the front yard setback is, it applies on both this one and this one. But then you utilize the rear street setback for the accessory.
Thank you. That's what.
Yeah. No, it's not super clear. Let me make a note of that. See if there's any way to make that a little easier to read.
And I don't. I am dealing with one now that has 3 front yards.
How's that possible?
We were doing the whole block, and that community treats it, no exception. Every one has to be a front yard.
do we define primary front?
No. What is your definition of primary?
So,
Where the front
so
door
in
is.
here we use the word primary front.
Yeah, I don't think we define it.
We don't define it. Primary front, in my opinion, is the street address side. So if you are on Loveland Avenue, that's your primary front. Right? If that's your address.
It's been a rule of thumb that you're on a corner lot, wherever the driveway is coming in is your primary front.
When I grew up in Reading, the primary front's on the main street. The garage came in off the side street, which was
Like an
there
alley.
were other homes. Well, it was a main street to other homes, but that definitely wasn't their front door. It really wasn't their primary front. So they were a corner lot, right? The garage came off the side. It wasn't to the garage face attached to the house. So I'm just trying to make sure it's defined, so we know what we're talking about. That's all.
Yeah,
I'm just looking for the
it's
definition.
not. You're right. We
Well-
haven't defined it.
What we have to find is any property that faces a street is considered a front yard, therefore it needs to meet the front yard setback is all we have to find. Now,
Yeah, it's just in here we talk about primary. If
Right.
either we take that out
right.
and just refer to a front yard, be to a street side, or if it's primary, to use the definition, then we should define what it is. I'm just trying to be consistent how we navigate. If we're going to update it.
So this is important right here. This front yard setback modification. This is important, and I think we need to tie this back to infill once we come up with our infill definition and how we do this. But basically, what this is saying is, you can't, you got to vacate or you tear down in between. Say you're up in the Heights and you tear down a house and you want to build a new one. You have to be, your front yard setback needs to be average of what the rest.
I like that within the other code. I think that really is the infill.
Yeah,
it's kind of an averaging.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, we just need to do a better job here. I don't think it ties. Right now, we're not tying this to anything. So like, this is completely up to interpret. Like in areas of the city where there is an established residential development, well, now we have to define infill. What is an established residential development? What areas are infill areas? Mm-hmm. We just need to make sure before we, when we pull this all together, that this ties to it.
Yep. Agreed. And I think that there's a couple examples in the code where people use that kind of averaging approach to front.
Same thing with
height. Kind of
I think
style.
height needs to be addressed.
Whether or not we want to get into the whole style discussion, that's a different one.
Right. But you don't want a sore thumb sticking, or not. It wouldn't even be sore. It'd be a nice house. But like, if you say you took two houses down and you decided to build a mansion, well, yeah, it's a great house, but it doesn't fit, right? So, yeah. Like I said, moving on to just the SPD part. Like I said, we really did a good job. The consultant did a great job of cleaning this up. Making this much easier to read. We didn't change anything necessarily as far as the process and whatnot, but one thing that does have to be added in the process, for some reason we eliminated the ability for council to initiate an SPD. So I need to get that back in there. So I'll be putting that back in. Because I assume, or maybe I'm wrong, but I wasn't around. Is that how you all did Loveland Station, essentially? Did council initiate an SPD on that?
We put development guidelines out and had people kind of quote and submit plans. So I guess that's probably.
I think you probably did. Probably did. Yeah. Yeah, that's what I thought. And again, you want that in there so that, for example, what council should have the ability to do that. So like with Chestnut, let's say something changes with Chestnut and we decide to create an SPD there to make the process much smoother. We could do that process. So, okay.
Yeah, because if you wanted to do that and then put it out and see if you get responses, then you've got, especially as the owner.
Stop at page 130.
Yep. Let's see. Page 130.
No, it's not. 1129.12.
1129.12. That's the list, right?
Yeah. Yes. Just
What's it talking?
it's administrative revisions.
No, I know what you're talking about. Revisions to approved plans. No, this is good. We need to talk about this. Because this is, you're not to spoil your fun for next meeting, but you'll be getting something like this again. We talked about this. This is a similar situation with
Oak Street.
The lodge area was as an SPD, and you already approved one revision. You're going to be seeing another one for the lodge, expanding their footprint a little bit.
Yeah, because they got that other lot. So.
So I think this is what you're asking.
We want you. If there are any other things that we want administratively for the zoning to approve. We need to review all 6 of these items and make sure that they're correct and that we don't want to add anything else. Because once we kind of go through that long process, we don't need them to come back. They need to change siding or colors or a material from A to B, as long as it relatively looks the same.
And also the ability to deal with extensions without making a big deal of it, because oftentimes
Yes.
it just seems like, would you really penalize somebody who's 75% done and didn't meet it? Why can't there even just, I think he learned a lot. We all learned a lot with trying to do up on Union, across the Commerce Park.
Yeah.
Some of that was a little unclear.
What happens at the end of life for an SPD?
We got big glass.
Now, 100 years from now,
There isn't that.
do they have
There's
to?
no end of life.
It runs with the line.
So they just tear down and can rebuild at the exact same.
You can go and amend it. You have to go through.
You would do a major revision.
Yeah.
So, and this is, in my opinion, this is essentially what you've seen twice now, or we will see. So I think it's a major revision when you're adding buildings that were never contemplated.
I would agree.
So I believe that's a major revision. So to answer your question, it could come back to.
It's still always going to be an SPD, so they'll always be able to come back.
It's a
and make
physical
changes.
It's a zone.
It's its own zone, right? There's no the
Yeah.
project is subject to sort of its own very specific written plans, but it is sort of an unwritten guideline that they're able to. I'm thinking, long term. To the distant future, where
Yep.
the number of SPDs we have, how will those redevelop? Given the current zoning code that we've written,
It would have to become a major.
major revisions.
Right?
It's just like Chris started taking amendments to SPDs. Our first one we did was with Farouk, right? It's the first time. I mean, that was back in the 70s. Arbor Woods was proposed, and so here we are years later. Not 100, but years
Right.
later. But amendment to major revision.
The change that, and I didn't put this in my notes to tell you all, but this is a change right here. So right now, any major revision, and I'm not sure how I feel about this. I guess I like it. Right now, major revisions can be approved by Planning and Zoning Commission only. So what you'll get, the major revision, what I consider the major revision for Farouk's and what you'll see for the Lodge, all starts and ends at Planning and Zoning. But thinking 100 years down the road, and maybe you do want that to go to City Council.
Yeah, I just don't know. I don't know what the.
Why wouldn't it plug back as a major revision? Plug back into the flow chart, right? If you go back and say you're going to do a major revision, it's almost like you start at 1 because you're redefining the SPD.
I agree. I'm not opposed to that. Let's read
But
how we.
I don't know.
changed it.
That seems a little too onerous. but
Yeah, it does.
I don't.
Not if you're talking about these changes, though. If a substantial change to basic design, density, use, circulation, or open space, of what was approved through the SPD process, I'm not opposed to that.
Well, yeah,
That's a big change.
Yeah,
I don't know if you plug in at 5 versus 1, right? Because you've
You don't-
already got most of the definition
Correct.
and you don't need to establish a new SPD because that's already
already
been done.
defined. So there's a point in here, depending on the severity or magnitude of change,
I agree.
but I don't know how to define that.
But would you? I'm just going to give you a scenario that I think someday will happen. This is just my prediction. Across the street from River Ridge, the SPD one, right?
Deer Ridge.
Deer Ridge apartment. I'm sorry, from Deer Ridge down towards the Public Works on that side of the road, as part of your SPD, you put a condition that must be green space forever. At some point in time, given the limited amount of land in the city, somebody's going to push that.
I understand.
Can you imagine? I mean, how many we got a call where somebody said, I'm just saying, I can fathom with the limited amount of land, the limited amount of annexation you're ever going to see, someone's going to say, my God, you got to be kidding me. I mean, it's prime piece of
It
property.
is, and part of that was the definition of the SPD,
I agree.
right? Which is
Just
you
think,
clustered the density, right, so that you can preserve some of the green space.
but it's part of this. It's
I-
part of SPD 1. And I just think someday someone with enough moxie or enough legal people behind them is going to say, I wanted that deed restriction changed to permit an expansion of SPD
But
1.
that goes
That's
in-
a major
But that,
expansion.
but that goes into the deed restriction. It's not just the zone.
I know, but the deed restriction can be changed if city council permits it because it's prime piece of property, soon to have crosswalks across the street. I'm just saying, if I would predict, that's a prediction of an SPD that
Right, and I would think
That'd
that
be a
that
full-
should go to city
the
council.
full Monty. That would be the full Monty back over.
Yeah.
Just don't even think you'd have much pushback, quite frankly.
I'm just, I understand. I have a problem with, we do SPDs, so we've clustered things together in
I know.
various areas because of the terrain, because of the
More-
difficulty, because it's
more green
preserving
space.
property.
Yeah.
And if you're going to throw all that out the window,
I know.
right, then why do we do an SPD and not just rezone it to
I agree, but we
Have
also
higher
have
density.
more green space per capita than probably
Well,
the greenest community around.
yeah, I think what Dave's kind of saying though, like that would be like last case, and like last, if that would be like the last place you could build, sort of thing.
Just that we had an inquiry about it,
Yeah,
it makes me think.
I hear what you're saying.
there's a
Well, that's where changing of commissions and boards and
It is.
where it all. I mean, everything's in
It's
flux.
just like Loveland Station with 5 different developers, 15 different proposals. So many people wanted to keep the Rokies feed store and keep all that green space there. They didn't want
there's still people who want
Four-story
Rocky's
building.
feed store there.
right.
So I think what I'm going to do here with this major revision portion, I think it makes sense for it to go back to council, but I'll look at how it needs to be defined, how it goes back into that flow chart.
I think it just goes back, pick the right place to go into the flow chart
Yep.
because it is a major revision.
Yeah.
It just doesn't have to start at ground
This
zero.
is so much cleaner than the way, because I made it worse. And I mean, this is so much cleaner. I did.
Was that really the first time, Dave?
I really did. I got pressured to add another
Oh,
public hearing.
go up.
Really convoluted.
What you're allowed to do. Okay.
No, it was a
Oh,
mess.
what we're allowed to do.
So, on the ones we had, I believe it was on up the top of the hill here. We had to bring back because they wanted to change some masonry around.
Is this you talking about the dairy whip?
No, the ones up top of the hill over here.
Oh,
Oh,
Oak Street.
I'm sorry.
Oak Street.
Oak
Oak Street.
Thank you.
Yeah. Well, that came back. Here's the problem with that. That SPD was created with. Well, no. I mean, here's the problem. It had an exhibit attached that said architecture. It should look like this. The architectural standard said it should look like Exhibit B. So, from a staff perspective, when we saw that, we didn't feel comfortable because it was a complete change for look. But that's where I don't think in SPDs, I really want to stay away from architectural. You know,
Well, either we got to make sure they don't include it as in their definition, or we have got to give the administrative relief for minor architectural adjustments, moving a window.
Yeah.
Technically, the way this is wrote, there's not a definition of the building as to what that changes.
So, but then, Chris, in this case, was it more than just moving a window?
Yeah.
Or you're moving
so no, it was a whole different.
It was a whole
structure.
different thing?
It wasn't even. Yeah, it was completely. So we made the right decision, but I think that would have came back no matter what. So if you look at what has to be spelled out in the development guidelines, I don't see. I think personally, I think that some of these SPDs, some of the development guidelines have gone a step further than what we actually call out. So nowhere in here do you see anything about architecture.
Okay.
You see building materials. I'll give you
And
that.
apertures, which is
Right.
Yeah.
So, in my opinion, it went a step farther than it should have, but it did. So,
well,
it's irrelevant.
like I say, I just don't want. I don't want them bringing back to us. I need to move a window or a door. I need to add. I want to add a window. I want to take a window away. Now, again, it's.
So I think this is
But
what.
don't you want to know in general that it has a general appearance?
But I want that. I want him to do that.
Okay.
I don't think that needs to come back for us, because you're gonna, if there's opposition to it, you're gonna bring that right back, and then we're gonna put us in a position, in the board in a position to kind of re-say the same thing. And what if there's a different board here that says, well, you can't do that now? I would prefer to kind of keep the spirit of what that design, what those features are, with the administrator, but not to come back to us.
The only thing I'll say to that, though, Dave, is that I can imagine councils wanting to approve an SPD and wanting to see the rendering, not wanting to blindly approve a project without having a sense of what it looks like.
I'm fine with that, but I don't think it should be defined. And if there's a change to that, he should be, or the administrator should be able to do that change, and not come back before us
for minor changes. If you want to change, I'm kind of with Andy. At some point, if you have submitted per your SPD what your rendering is, what you think it's going to generally look like, that becomes part of the package, right? And I'm with you. I don't care that it has 2 windows or 5 windows.
Correct,
but I don't want to change that it looks like the Loveland Castle.
No,
up on top of
no, I don't. If you're changing the look of it, and it's all on the final look. If it's 1 window or 2 windows, to me there's no look change. But if you're going from gable roofs to flat roofs, you're going from,
and that's what happened.
Yeah, I understand that. But I just want to make sure that those kind of changes aren't coming to us.
For sure.
Hey, I'm with you. I want to change the trim from this location to this location, or a window.
Yeah.
I just want those minor changes to be administrative, because the minute you start having all that stuff come back, number one, it's time.
Right.
It's 60 to 90 days, the time it kind of works its way through, and it just, if there's a lot of opposition or people, we're just opening ourselves up to kind of reopening those issues over and over again.
Yeah, and you're right. We don't want to get into style debates, or aesthetic mandates that we're putting on people. So
especially if it's outside of the now. Yeah. Again, keep in mind you have your HPPC for certain areas. But outside of that,
right,
people should be able to kind of do what they want as long as it meets.
But if you have wording that says minor changes to architectural features,
and adjustments,
there needs to be an
then
right.
You
Because this doesn't cover it all.
Because that doesn't cover it.
I need more
Correct.
in there.
Yes.
So
Yep.
I don't know if it's a 7 or you just adjust 3.
Yeah, I'm with you, Dave. I wasn't with you if it was just a blank slate.
Oh no,
I get to make all of this.
No, I agree with both of you there on council. Yes, they should. If you're changing the SPD, and that would be changing.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
You would need to know what the change entails.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
It's dark. She was making fun of my socks.
How much further? How much further are we going?
We don't have. We can stop whenever you need.
I have a hard stop. I got to get out of here.
Yeah.
5 minutes. But
That's-
you guys want to?
No, let's go ahead and
I forgot we usually go an hour for these.
Yeah.
Don't be.
yeah, that's
it's
it's
You're
Eva's fault, definitely. Yeah, we can. Let's pick it up. Let's pick up. Like I said, next meeting will be a normal meeting. It's actually just to prepare everyone. It looks like we have about 3 cases potentially. So I don't think they're all should be fine. But I'm just saying it might be the same length.
Is the the short-term rental one that's still tabled?
Yeah, so that one actually, what we'll probably do with short-term rentals is I'll just let the consultant talk about it. We don't have to go a deep dive next week because we have time.
Did council approve the moratorium?
They did. I'm sorry, I should have.
I did. I
I figured, but I wanted to ask.
Yeah, I hadn't heard.
Yeah, and they were heavily in favor of it. It makes a lot of sense. And just you will be getting calls. You will start to hear some people come in for open forum to discuss short-term rentals. So just a heads up.
It's good.
Yays and nays?
Huh?
Yays and nays?
I don't know.
Well, yeah.
I'm not going to spoil the surprise. Come on.
You know, the state of a lot of states are like state of Pennsylvania is looking at density. That's what you're talking about.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
You're going to only get them so many feet
Yep.
apart. You know?
And that's what we're talking about before you
Yeah,
came in.
before you-
That's what we're going to try to
On
target.
the table for discussion. So, yeah.
Yeah, that was that stuff that stuff before. Yeah.
All right.
thank you.
I'll move to adjourn.
Oh,
Second.
yeah. I'm sorry. I was,
Second.
Thank
All
you.
in favor?
Hi.
Aye.
Yeah.